episode 211. My name is Dave, and I'm joined by Michael.
How's it going, Dave? I want to say welcome back to the video game podcast, but we're about to do some news stories in a little bit. That's going to be not great news stories. But, how was your vacation, Dave?
My vacation was good. It was nice to get away for a little bit and just kind of spend time with just my wife. We left Owen at home, so we found a shirt. We could never remember when it was, but years ago I won a trip to Mexico when I worked for Foot Locker, and that was the last kid-free vacation that we went on, and that was like 2005.
Damn. Okay. So that was I just started high school.
So, it'd been a while since it was just just Angela and I. We flew into San Diego on Monday and flew home on Friday. And we had a great time. So I'm sure I'll talk about it a little bit more because I didn't really play much. But so obviously you're listening to Digital Days Gaming. We took last week off. I was on vacation and Michael had some stuff going on, so it just didn't work out for him to be able to record. It's okay though. We're not protecting any streak or anything like that. And
based on the Facebook group, there's some people that they could use a week to catch up.
We could take a month off.
Yeah.
So.
And they won't know who we're talking about until 2 months from now when those people finally catch up to the podcast.
2 months. Stefan's like 6 months behind.
You know, as long as he downloads it every week, it's fine. He could be as far behind as possible.
Yeah, so we are Digital Days Gaming. We're typically a weekly podcast released every Thursday, 6 a.m. Eastern Time on podcast services. We also live stream the show on Twitch and YouTube, twitch.tv/Digital Days Gaming, youtube.com/Digital Days Gaming. You can subscribe on Twitch if you choose. We are a Twitch affiliate. You could follow us on Twitch. That's free. Subscriptions cost unless you have Amazon Prime, and you can link Amazon Prime to your Twitch account and get Prime Gaming. Prime Gaming offers you a free sub per month. I just re-upped my sub today, and there's actually another menu you have to go to do this. So
I saw that,
making it harder and harder.
Yeah.
But so if you are considering doing that, please, the couple necessary steps that are needed are appreciated. It is a free sub. You're paying for Prime. Just link it with your Twitch account. You get some other cool benefits from Prime Gaming as well for multiple games, whether PC, Xbox, PlayStation. There's always something in there every month. So be sure to check that out. You can subscribe on YouTube for free. You can also visit our Patreon, patreon.com/Digital Days Gaming, as well as check out our website, digitaldaysgaming.com, or the show notes for Discord and social media to join Facebook groups, all those fun things. And I reluctantly say, let's talk about the news, because I don't want to talk about 80% of what's on here.
Yeah, so we're going to start with some good news or some speculative news before we get into the shit show that I think everyone's waiting for us to get into. But the first thing up is, according to multiple reports, the one I pulled is from Eurogamer. The Nintendo Switch is targeting, or the Nintendo Switch 2 by Nintendo is being targeted for a March 2025 release. So apparently there was internal targets for the Switch 2 to release in 2024, but Nintendo decided to push it back a little bit to have stock. And it sounds like specifically they're trying to have stock to kind of combat resellers and for there to be some, scarcity stuff like we're used to seeing. And Nintendo their consoles tend to get hit real hard by reselling. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. This website started to autoplay a video, and I was like, what is that sound? Damn it, Eurogamer.
Doing it live.
Yeah. So these reports are basically saying that it is going to be a Switch 2. And what added fuel to that fire is the fact that during the Pokemon Direct that happened a couple days ago, they said the new Pokemon game will be coming to Nintendo Switch systems, which is very specific phrasing. When they usually just say coming to the Nintendo Switch, they said it's coming to all the Nintendo Switch systems, which means we are most likely getting a Switch 2.
Right. Or getting something that's going to have Switch in the name.
Yes. Yes. Dave, thoughts on 2025, March 2025 specifically for a new console for Nintendo?
Ultimately, we know that the Switch is kind of at its max of terms of what games can do. We saw that with Tears of the Kingdom. We've seen that with a handful of other games. Yes, it's cool and necessary. I don't have the exact release date of Switch year. I think 2017.
I can look that up real
2016.
quick. It's been a long time ago.
Yeah, so we might be in that 10-year window where they like everybody kind of supports a console generation for 10
2017.
years. 2017. Look at that.
March
off the top of my head.
2017.
Yeah. So, you're at 8 years if this does release in March of 2025, which means that you could probably see roughly another 2 or 3 years of support for the original Switch, which makes sense. But I do think there will be games that will not run on the original Switch. They just won't. They just can't.
Maybe not on launch day, I would imagine, but the first holiday,
the next Zelda will not come and will not run on the first Switch. So I'm with you. Like that holiday of 2025, you'll probably still see some Switch games, but then holiday 2026, it would be quote unquote Switch 2 games. Am I excited about a new piece of hardware? Sure, because I'm really kind of interested to see what Nintendo can do as they're moving up this. But ultimately, like this Switch 2 will be a portable PS4.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be like not PS4 Pro, but it's PS4.
Right.
But that's all Nintendo really needs.
Yep.
For what they push for games. And we'll talk about this. This will come full circle when we talk about the last story in terms of like sometimes cutting edge technology doesn't lead to the most profitable thing.
Yep.
And Nintendo is very aware of that, as they have been.
Yeah,
Since
I mean,
the dawn of
Nintendo's
time.
always kind of been on this little they're on the road with you. They're on the gaming tree, but they're kind of off on their own independent branch, where they kind of just do their own thing, and it works. It's stable, and knock on wood, I don't want to say this out loud based on the other stories, but we really haven't seen Nintendo hit by layoffs.
No, they've been actually. There's been a lot of reports coming out of Nintendo being like, yeah, they're doing whatever they can to keep talent and
so
basically set themselves up for the future, unlike some of the other studios.
Right. So they're obviously doing something right, whether if it's for you or not for you. I don't know what to tell you. But sure. I would like to see some other possible specs or anything like that. But I guess if we are talking about March of 2025, I would assume that we would probably see them say something at a Nintendo Direct in June.
Yeah, I would imagine. Like
May, June, July.
Usually, it's June, and then the next one's usually September, October. So
Right.
they could do what they did last time. I think the Switch was announced with like a cheesy trailer, and then we had to wait 2 months to actually see games for it.
I am intrigued by the potential of this happening also because this is when they really start to get aggressive on the stuff that they've been working on that can run on Switch to get it out, to try to sell as many Switches as they can. So this is Nintendo's par for the course of this is when I think we'll see that alleged Metroid Prime 4 that's done. Get it out.
I honestly think that also could be one of those games that get just pushed to the next.
I agree, but there's a half a dozen games that they're holding.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Minimum
there's
half a dozen
stuff.
games they're holding. Whether it's another Donkey Kong or this, we know this Princess Peach game is coming. There's rumors of F-Zero. Obviously, there's always rumors of F-Zero. So, but if we are going to get a new Switch and it's something that a company or a studio or a branch of Nintendo has been working on something for the Switch and not for the Switch 2, we're going to get it. They're going to be let's get it out.
I mean, that's kind of how it's felt the last year as we've gotten, the announcement of Princess Peach. We got the remake of a Paper Mario game, a new Paper Mario game done. Smash Brothers is completely finished, and they said that the team's working on something new, which is it's going to be Smash Brothers. But it seems like they've kind of started to almost run out of things to release, and now where it's okay, we know that they have the Prime remakes finished. Yeah. When those were going to come out, we don't know. And then they also have Metroid 4. So there's a bunch of stuff that they have ready to go. And I think, we have hit a point, too, where there has to be a reason why Nintendo kind of abandoned Animal Crossing as quickly as they did, despite its success. And I would imagine it's because they had an idea for the Switch 2 for Animal Crossing, whatever. And we're probably going to start seeing that stuff. Because I feel like it also has been a while since, we've had, a 3D Mario announcement. We've had, Mario Wonder, which did really well.
Yeah, but this is a perfect opportunity for Odyssey 2.
Yeah. Odyssey 2, whatever else.
And ultimately, here's the deal. Here's some things that I feel that we know. This is going to cost $300 to $350, and there's going to be some marquee stuff at launch. Like those are two
Yeah.
like guaranteed things, and
You-
those are
you're-
things that
you're
the
gonna
other
get one or
platforms
two,
are
yeah.
missing. You know, like when you talk about like the Switch and the sales and the units and how much software they sell, it all comes down to the price of the hardware, not the price of the software. The price of the hardware. It's $300, and it can go anywhere.
Yeah, and
PS5, $500, can't go anywhere. I couldn't even take the thing in my backpack on my carry-on if I wanted to.
but if you got a PlayStation Portal for $200, you can try your best.
And then I hope that the Airbnb internet's good enough.
Yeah. But that's all.
But I know my Switch will run on a plane. I know my Switch will run, at an Airbnb.
Yeah, and the
I
thing
couldn't
is,
take it because Owen owns it.
Yeah, it is going to be. I'm going to want to know how they're going to handle the account stuff because it still seems like they still don't quite understand that.
I think they're getting a little bit better though, where you can buy stuff on the on a website that connects to your Nintendo account, like that in the Switch's life cycle, that's gotten better.
Yeah, it just I don't trust Nintendo not to be like, hey, all the work we did on the Switch to get it where it should be, that's going to transfer over easily. I feel like Nintendo would still, the meme of someone putting a stick in the bicycle tire as they're riding it is Nintendo.
Oh, you mean I can't watch the Pikmin carry my stuff from one Switch to my other Switch?
No, yeah, not at all. Yeah, I just imagine some weirdness with Nintendo when it comes to transferring stuff over. But a Switch 2 just makes sense. I did see a lot of people saying like, oh, but Nintendo always like to do something crazy different with their consoles, and it's like, no, they don't. NES to SNES, nothing crazy happened. N64 to GameCube, nothing crazy happened.
Well, even Super Nintendo to 64, like, the controller got different, and we got 3D. But, I mean, in terms of, like, it wasn't anything, like, hardware innovative. Like, they don't really, like,
they
Switch
take big
works.
swings once, and then they reiterate on that thing over and over again. And so,
64, like, to your point, 64 to GameCube, and then the GameCube to the Wii.
Yeah.
And then the Wii to the Wii U, and then they swung again on the Switch.
Yeah.
So, like,
they're not done milking the Switch.
Yeah. And I don't really think that, a bigger screen, better resolution, better battery. Like, I mean, I don't even know if the battery needs to get better, but better Joy-Cons, like, cool.
No. I mean, honestly, even if they're like, hey, your old Joy-Cons work and it's still the same sort of, I don't think they'll do that. But like, even if they end up with just like, internals are just better, I'll be like, fine. That's kind of all I want. And they could take the next big swing on the console after that.
Like Joy-Con Pros with interchangeable thumbsticks.
Something like that, or do the Hall effect thumbsticks or something. There's a lot of things they can do that are small that would be major improvements to like quality of life for the system. But that's going on with Nintendo, and I think March 2025. That I'm fine with that. Like, I don't mind it missing the holiday.
No, it's better actually.
I'll
be curious. I'll be curious how they try to combat bots. As I've been getting back into the sneaker culture a little bit, and using some of, like, trying to buy some Jordans and things. Like, I have a sneaker account which is affiliated with Nike, and it's like locked to like that device. Like, it's to the point of where, like, even Angela signs in on her, like, you won. You have to bring this device with this QR code. You can't pull it up on something else, and it knows my size. Like, I can't order different sizes or anything like that. So it's super interesting how it's set up. And obviously Nike's a humongous company as well as Nintendo. But I'll be curious because, like, PlayStation tried this with the PlayStation accounts and the PlayStation Store, or the
PlayStation Direct.
Yeah, PlayStation Direct Store and stuff. So it'll be really interesting to see how they handle this. But I'm with you. I could see this being one of those things too, with pandemic or not. Like, you're not going to walk into a store on Switch launch day and buy one. You're either going to have to pre-order it or curbside it or something.
Though I could see Nintendo being old school and being like, you know what? There will be consoles in stores. You will have to fight for it.
It doesn't mean that Best Buy and Target aren't going to do their own thing.
Yeah, but though Nintendo, I think, has more sway with those companies to where if Nintendo goes to Target,
the software is actually in the store.
Yes, exactly.
The Switch is the biggest physical software section.
Yeah, no, it legitimately is. And accessories, and then just like merch that gets sold.
Power A stuff and T-shirts. And
last time I was in Target, there was like literally an aisle just dedicated to
yeah.
Mario character plushies and Pokemon
plushies. Yep.
Yeah. So, like, if they wanted to go to Target, being like, we want a big physical presence day one, Target would be like, sure. What aisles do you want us to take down?
Yeah.
Like, Nintendo has some options. The next story, which is kind of a cool one. Remedy has acquired the full rights to the Control franchise. So Remedy announced basically that they bought the Control IP, the first Control game, and all the previously announced sequels and spin-offs for roughly $18 million. Just for perspective, Control sold 4 million copies when it was published by 505 Games, who had part ownership of the IP. Dave, I feel like this is a really smart move based on like where the industry is right now, in terms of a lot of these publishers and big game companies are cutting costs wherever they can. So the idea that Remedy jumped in and we're like, we'll just give you money and you give us the thing.
Yeah.
And then you can report on your financial report that you made money this year.
Yeah. I mean, if you run, and I know I'm sometimes a numbers guy and I know I mess it up, but so Control, I believe, well, I think it actually costs $60, but let's just say the Control costs $70. And if you believe the 70-30 split, that every store gets 30%, right? Steam,
yes.
Xbox, PlayStation, 30%. You're talking about roughly $49 based on the $70 price point. Don't come at me if it's not $70. But anyway, $49 profit, quote unquote profit, times 4 million copies. It's $196 million.
Yeah, they actually said that net revenue between the two companies was $108 million.
Okay.
So if you take away the budget of however much it cost,
right,
your numbers are probably like dead on.
Yeah. So to get your rights to your franchise that you're making for $18 million, I think is a pretty good deal.
Yeah. And if you're 505, it's just like, okay, free money. Like we can't do anything with this franchise without you.
Right. And more than likely, they're going to sign a deal with 505 to publish it.
Yeah, because they're still independent and they need to publish.
They still need somebody to make to publish them and market them and PR them and everything like that. So I think it's just kind of one of those win-wins for everybody. This is great for stability of a studio, which studios need.
Yeah. They definitely need it. And this, again, I feel like this is like Remedy kind of seeing where the market is right now and being like, you know what, 505 probably needs some extra revenue right now. We want our franchise back. This is a perfect win-win for both sides. Because right now, Dave, we're going to talk about the bloodbath that is currently going on in the industry right now. There was like 3 more stories we could have talked about, just layoffs, but I cut it down to 2. So Remedy, again, seems to be doing a really good job of like future-proofing themselves in terms of like they have their various projects with various publishers, so they're not tied to just one publisher. They're not just tied to one IP, and then right now they're, acquiring different IPs that they've worked on before. So like they own Alan Wake now they own Control, and they're trying to make their built universe, and then also now they're working with Take-Two for the Max Payne games.
Mm-hmm.
So like they have their next like, Dave, how long do you think it's going to be? Like 10 years before we could see all these games come out? So good on them, and good on 505 for actually making a deal, because we've seen publishers
hold developers hostage, developers hold publishers hostage. We've seen it both ways.
Yeah. So the fact that they were actually able to come to a deal for $18 million is pretty good to hear. All right, Dave. Let's get into the shit. First up is EA announced today that they're laying off 5% of its workforce. EA announced they'll be laying off over 600 employees, which I didn't realize how gigantic EA was. If
that's only 5%,
yeah, is 600 employees. So EA in a statement said they're going to move focus away from licensed IPs. Due to these layoffs, EA will close Ridgeline Games, which was run by a former Halo creator who was working on the next Battlefield single-player game. That studio was made in 2022, I believe. Mm-hmm. And they were just been working on the Battlefield single-player game that we apparently might see eventually, because the Battlefield game is being moved to EA's Ripple Studios, which is kind of like a Criterion kind of studio. Like
what you refer to as auxiliary studios. Yep.
Yeah. And, there's just a great track record of when games get taken away and sent to auxiliary studios to become a finished project. This also will affect Respawn, that will see its Star Wars shooter based on The Mandalorian canceled. So the studio can focus on the Jedi franchise and Apex Legends. Obviously, the layoffs are for multiple studios within there, but I do think it's kind of interesting. Let me ask you about the first thing. What do you think about EA being like, we're going to move away from licensed IPs?
I've been struggling with this, like to how to phrase this. I've been thinking about this for like the last 3 or 4 days as I saw this stuff kind of come out. I don't know the answer because the gaming consumer wants bigger, better, faster, stronger, funner, and all of those phrases cost cash. And we saw it with Immortals. It struggled. They marketed the hell out of the game. It struggled, and it caused the studio to completely go away because you didn't buy the new IP.
Yeah.
The counter to it is now is a licensed IP. Like, what part of an economic climate are we at where the EA's like, you know what, it's just better to walk away from Mandalorian.
And that's the thing that's kind of baffling. Like, I don't know exactly. You would think that they would embrace the IP, licensed IPs more. But to your point, like, where is the industry right now when EA of all companies is just like, we're going to focus on our own IP right now.
But I mean, this is what you had talked about before. I think it was you multiple years ago of like, they stretched Respawn. They stretched Respawn too thin. Like they couldn't do it. You're talking about. I love Mandalorian. I would love to have seen a first-person shooter Mandalorian Star Wars game, but Jedi games are great. The Jedi Survivor series is great. Apex is awesome. I don't play it.
It's struggling right now because they were stretched so thin.
Right. So now this has a huge chance to rebound with, they say, hey, now like this is one of those games like Respawn can rebound Apex in 2 seasons. Like if they get if they don't So and to think about the Titanfall developer making a Star Wars shooter, yes please.
Yeah, especially what we saw what they were able to do with Jedi Survivor and that franchise.
Yeah. So and Respawn was considered the golden goose for EA. We'll talk about that in the next story too. But it's just crazy, and it's getting to the point where like, I'm curious like how much did EA spend on this Black Panther game that Amy Hennig's working on? Is that EA or no?
No, that's not. That's Skybound.
She left EA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they are doing a Black Panther game. They're doing a Black Panther game and an Iron Man game. But Amy Hennig's doing that Captain America Black Panther game for Skybound.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's confusing because like
she was doing something for EA, right?
Yes, she was working on a Star Wars game that got canceled.
Yeah. So now like EA signed that 10-year contract for Star Wars like 15 years ago, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, whatever it was. And then they, like that Star Wars contract, went away and it went to more, like they allowed more studios to make Star Wars games. And now EA is walking away from Star Wars games, like multiple ones.
Yeah.
Like
they're just holding on to Jedi because that's like the only successful one and they're too afraid.
But they already have the character model. They have their own unique Star Wars character. They have to follow some canon stuff, but they don't. Like they did it right.
Yeah.
Like they kind of have their Nathan Drake.
Honestly, like when it comes to like the Mandalorian game, even though I don't want to focus too much on like the games aspect because of all the people that were laid off, but like as someone who likes the Mandalorian, I could also be like, I don't know if this translates to a video game.
Right. No, I agree.
Yeah.
And again, what Michael's saying is 100% true. 10 people losing their job sucks. 600 people losing their job sucks. Like.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, nobody wanted to hear this, and I'm not defending him when I say this, but I give him kudos for saying it. Phil Spencer said this 2 weeks ago. Like, the industry isn't growing. And when you don't grow, you have to cut costs. And the easiest way to cut cost is wages. Like, I'm sorry. Like, again, from the business standpoint
it's basically,
of me.
And we'll get into it because we get a lot more details with, like, some of the ideas behind some of these cuts in the next story. But, yeah, no... EA's in a weird spot because like technically there are 2 companies, right? It's EA and then EA Sports. Like they kind of did like not a full divide.
EA Sports just spent like $7 million on name, image, and likeness for this NCAA football game,
which is egregiously low if you think about it.
Yeah,
but also 11,000 people,
85 players per team.
Yeah. But they definitely could have paid more to the players. But like you have EA. They might just be because the college football game will probably turn around EA's financials significantly because of just since 2014, right? Was the last one.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this game, but also so terrified for it at the same time.
Yeah. But EA at this point, it's just like, okay, outside of the Respawn bucket and the sports bucket, Need for Speed hasn't hit in a really long time.
Yep.
I think they released a UFC game not too long ago that like no
or it's coming out like this month.
Yeah, something like that. And And then, you have your BioWare studio that makes games that eventually will come out. And you look at EA and you're just like, okay. Oh, and then Battlefield.
Yeah.
But like EA doesn't really have a lot to build upon. And this is going to be something I'm going to suggest with PlayStation in our next story. EA might need to just look back to the PS3 era of games.
Well,
where
what
you
happened
weren't
to Unravel?
No, that's what I was getting to.
Yeah.
Where you kind of have to stop shooting for the moon on every release and maybe go for smaller games. As far as I know, the Dead Space remake was really successful for how much it cost and how well it sold. And it's something like that EA probably needs to go back to, of just like, hey, should we do smaller things? Should we focus on some IPs that actually have profitability?
Yeah,
as
dumb
opposed
as
to,
it sounds, can you go back and remake Battlefield 4, which is arguably the most successful Battlefield franchise, and put it on 120 frames, 4K? Like, just take the exact game. Like, Naughty Dog did it with Last of Us Part 2. Insomniac did it with Spider-Man. Like, just go get Battlefield 4 and make it Battlefield 4 Plus. And I'm somebody that wants new and innovative stuff. But if I need to wait 5 to 7 years to get new and innovative stuff, and this is the way that you need to do it to make the money versus swinging at a game like Immortals or whatever the hell plan they have for Battlefield that I don't even want to touch right now, 2042 or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah. Which they basically said, like, hey, we're not going to really do anything with that anymore,
right,
and we're going to make a Battle Royale Battlefield game again. And it's like, fuck, guys, really?
Yeah, so it's like they just kind of got to figure out what they're going to do and do it. And, like I've seen like some, stuff online about make smaller games. And I don't think that that's necessarily the answer, because there are certain expectations that have started to become with a $60 or $70 game versus a $30 or $40 game.
And you can finish your point, but
yeah, and I think the consumer expects certain things from a $70 game. I at this point in time, I feel like they expect a games as a service. Like, what are you giving me post campaign? Uncharted 5, as an example. What are you going to give me post campaign? What the hell are you talking about? You play the game, you beat it, you move on.
Yeah, and then that's the thing that, like, I think the game industry is going to hit really hard, and that's going to be like, are you committed to $70 games? Because that seems to be not profitable, because the expectation is really high for that $70 price point on both ends.
Right.
The amount of money the company expects to make, and then the amount of content that the player wants. It could be something that, like, the $70 game needs to be reevaluated, and maybe we go down to $50 games.
Well, the counter to it is, look at Helldivers 2.
Yeah, $40
$40 game.
Yeah, and that's my point.
It's arguably going to be I'm telling you right now, February whatever, it's going to win multiplayer game of the year.
Yeah, no, I like, especially with
unless
how well
something ridiculous comes out this summer that we don't know about.
Yeah, but fair games.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, or fair play, whatever it is. But that is something that, like, I think EA needs to look at, especially when you just look at, like, BioWare and EA were looking at Larian Studios and Baldur's Gate 3 last year, of just like, how did they do that with half our fucking budget? Because
they gave them the time.
Yeah, and when you talk about, like, oh, maybe just remake Battlefield 4, I feel like you could get away with that if you announce Battlefield 4 and then the next big Battlefield game at the same time. Of like, hey, coming next year, Battlefield 4 remake, Bad Company 2 remake.
Yeah, we're going to use the data and the play techniques that you guys are doing in this game to make our new stuff better.
Yeah, and you put a crazy date on the one that follows it up. Like Battlefield 4 remake comes out 2025, next gen, or the next big Battlefield game 2028, and then you do that,
and then you just stop talking.
Yes, exactly. Just fucking stop it, and try your best not to leak that you're chasing trends that are going to be dead by the time your game comes out.
Yep.
But yeah, EA is a mess, like every game company right now. And here's the one that it's tragic that this is happening. I think we've already almost matched the amount of layoffs last year in its entirety in the first 3 months or 2 months.
60 days, yeah. Less than 60 days, yeah.
Of this year. I know people don't really like talking about the layoff stuff. We've had some people comment of like, you guys focus too much on like the layoff aspect, but it did seem like this week when PlayStation announced layoffs that those people that were saying that suddenly cared about like layoffs, because PlayStation announced 900 plus people have been laid off. PlayStation, accounts for 8% of its workforce. This was announced by Jim Ryan, which it almost feels like it was like a punishment on the way out of like, hey, Jim, we know you're gone in March, but right before you leave, you got to announce that all these people are being let go. So prior to this announcement, Sony had their stock fall like a crazy amount. I think they lost like
10%.
a couple billion.
Yeah.
Yeah, equated to like a couple $1 billion in
because they said that
value.
console PS5 didn't hit expectations. Pretty much. That was
and
the biggest
basically it was declining in terms of
Right.
like the sales aren't going to peak anymore. And then also
Shocking.
it was reported that their profit margins for games are really low. So it sounds like the quarter of December, the profit margins for the games were only 6%, which is down from 9% in 2022, which is also down from like whatever percentage the previous time that was reported, which basically just means that the game budgets continue to grow, but the profit that they're getting from them is just not there anymore. And 6% is like a crazy low number if you think about it. Because of this, London Studios has been shut down. This is a week after Jim Ryan posted photos of him visiting the studio and taking pictures with everybody, being like, basically he did a farewell tour, and London Studios was his last stop. And then this week, London Studios is shut down. They were working on a fantasy co-op game, which is now canceled. Fire Sprite Studio sounds like they were hit significant by the layoffs, and the Twisted Metal live service game has been canceled. This team will now focus on bringing PSVR 2 to PC. And then Guerrilla saw 10% of their workforce cut. Insomniac saw their staff get cut. And Naughty Dog were also hit by multiple layoffs. So it sounds like across all the studios there were layoffs. And this is on top.
Those are arguably the three most successful Sony franchise studios that are making games in the last 4 years. You're talking about Last of Us 2, Spider-Man franchise, and Horizon. And they're not safe. I'm sorry, and I don't mean to sound insensitive when I say this. Why isn't Sony Ben mentioned in here?
And that's the thing, we don't know the exact numbers.
Right.
But yeah.
No, I'm sure Sony Ben lost some people. And again, anybody losing their job sucks. But I hate that. People pointed the finger at Xbox so bad when they acquired Activision and Blizzard, and those layoffs, in my business mindset, made sense because you didn't need the overhead. Why did Sony do this?
When it comes to Insomniac, a lot of people are pointing out that Spider-Man 2 costs significantly more money than Spider-Man 1 cost. So budget seems like that exploded, and it costs like $300 million to produce that game, which leads into that profit margin that was talked about for software sales. So it almost feels like that's punishment for that, which isn't Insomniac's fault, technically, though there are probably some questions of just like, how was it significantly more money?
This is why Helldivers 2 is on PC.
Yeah.
This is why PSVR 2 is going to work on PC, because you have a full $100 peripheral with 55 million consoles out there. What's a good attach rate? 10%?
Yeah.
It's 5 million.
But also,
if your console sales are flat or declining, which they just said, guess what's going to stop selling?
Yeah.
Your peripherals. So, I just need people to make it make sense to me of why it's bad for Xbox to put Sea of Thieves on PlayStation, but it's okay for PlayStation to put PSVR 2 on PC.
Yeah, and now it almost, when they announced the PSVR 2 stuff, that was last week before the layoffs were announced.
Yeah.
But because they basically killed their two biggest PSVR studios,
right,
it almost makes sense that they're like, shit, we gotta get something.
Well, but guess what?
Out of this
guess who's thinking about buying a PSVR 2 now?
Yeah, same.
Me.
Same.
Me.
Yeah.
Because now it can do more than one thing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Game Pass can do more than one thing for me. PSVR 2 was cool, and it had some awesome things to it, but I was limited to whatever PlayStation's going to support. Now I might not be.
Yeah.
So that intrigues me enough. It's the right price point for a headset to hook up to a PC and to a PlayStation.
Yeah, just to being able to have that versatility. It could be good for PSVR too. this stuff is still just like wild to me. Like PlayStation, like the thing that sucks about a lot of these layoffs is the companies are still profitable. It's just the profit just isn't what the companies want, so it's just a bloodbath. I do think there is also a chance that there's a couple of things at play. There's the amount of people that were hired during the pandemic to
for sure,
to like build up because everyone just thought the money would never stop flowing. There was also the thing where companies were able to hire people around the world without having them to move, so they hired like probably
5
more
people
talent.
instead of 2. You know.
Yeah, and then also they could get like not better but more expensive talent that they might not have had access to before. Like that could play a part in it. But it's just like I also feel like this is the company's sly way of squeezing in some AI shit down the road as well, which is it's definitely like tinfoil hat aspect of all this news of just like all the fact that every company, profitable or not profitable, or like we're laying off a shit ton of people, we're laying off 10% of our workforce. I feel like they're just setting things up to where in like 2-3 years we're going to be like, oh shit, there's a lot of AI garbage in this game now. I wonder why.
But what's the answer though? Like obviously, like to your point, the profits aren't enough, which means the sales aren't enough. Like so, like I don't know what, you know. Again, the business mind that I have, like what do you do differently?
This what probably is going to happen is they either need to micromanage their fucking development cycles more. And not that they're not already being micromanaged as is, but it seems more and more that budgets are just getting crazy. They kind of need to, as an industry, need to reset the expectations of people that are playing the games, like we talked about in the last story, in terms of just like, what is a $70 game? Like, what is the size and scope?
But Michael, I'm sorry, but people don't believe statistics. They don't believe live metric numbers that are put right in front of them.
No, but what they do believe is if you put a good quality game at $40, like Helldivers,
but it's doing like using that as an example, it's doing better on PC.
Yeah.
Like,
Which PlayStation,
but PlayStation people, like PlayStation players, don't want to see that when Helldivers comes out and says, "Look, we've moved our max player count to 500,000." Okay, and they say like, and then if you can't get in, it's because, and then Steam's concurrent players say 470,000. So if Steam has 470,000 people playing Helldivers 2, how many are playing on PlayStation, Michael, if the servers are full?
Well, it would cap at 100,000 more, but like
no, if it's 500,000. And 470,000.
Oh, yeah, 25,000. That would mean only 25,000 PlayStation people get in. Not that 25,000 people are like that. There could be 100,000 PlayStation people, but
trying to play.
Trying to play. But that's the thing that like PlayStation, if they want to play the multi-platform game, this is the stuff that they're going to have to do. And also, Helldivers Arrowhead being a second-party studio means they have PlayStation support, but probably not the full support that that could handle like the servers.
The hilarious part is there's this huge, I don't know if you've seen this or not, but there's this huge uprising from the Helldivers community of wanting the game on Xbox. Do you know why they want the game on Xbox, Michael?
Why?
Because the game, as the live service game of Helldivers, is where you can, if your teams, if the community is not successful at doing certain things, you lose planets and you get stuff invaded to the automatons. Like things are happening in the game. They don't want it on Xbox because they want Xbox to play it. They want an Xbox because they want help.
Oh, okay.
they want reinforcements. They know, but at the same time, Arrowhead, every time they've raised their concurrent players, they just fill it.
700,000 right now.
Yeah, and they just fill it.
Yeah.
And there's still a queue. Like, and everybody, we had a couple people on our Facebook group complaining. I'm like, what do you want them to do? Like, they thought 400,000 people were going to play it. They maxed it. They thought 550 was enough. They maxed it. They thought 700 would be enough. They're maxing it. Like, yeah, it's eventually going to lose some steam.
Where they hit 700,000 and they're like, this isn't going to be enough, but this is the best we could do right now. And the fact that like, you don't have like PlayStation jumping in being like, fuck it, what do you need? Like we have these dead servers for the Last of Us factions too.
And you could potentially sell more, but right now I if somebody asks me should I play Helldivers 2, the answer is yes, but wait until I can tell you can get in. Yeah. Because I don't want you to spend $40 and then look at a queue. Like, and Helldivers came out and said don't buy it.
Yeah.
But again, from a profit standpoint, How much money has PlayStation lost, and Xbox is in this boat as well, so don't come at me, people. How much money has PlayStation lost on Factions? How much money has PlayStation lost on Twisted Metal 2? How much money has PlayStation lost on this fantasy co-op game? Like, these are all things that we're finding out that they're canceling now. Like, and then how much are they going to lose because they're laying off these people? Because guess what? It means the games aren't going to come out as fast as you want them to come out. Like, it's this huge double-edged sword.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's frustrating. It's like when Bungie was just like,
yep.
hey, we're going to lay off, was that how many hundreds of people?
400 or 500? Yeah,
400, 500 people.
Yeah.
And then they were like, we're going to do our best to make the next expansion as quality as possible. And it's going to be like, how?
Yeah, and we have a revenue problem, so we're gonna delay our increase in revenue 6 months. How does that make sense? Like, I don't understand. Like,
do you think because they basically announced it, like they canceled like a fair amount of games?
Yeah.
Do you think a lot of them? We already know the Twisted Metal one is canceled, the co-op game. But I wonder if the reason they had Jim Ryan touting this stuff and not the current president of PlayStation, talking about
because these were Ryan's ideas.
No, that's what I was getting to. Like, these are Ryan's ideas, but I wonder how many of those live service games have been canceled and how much money was lost when any rational person would have been like, 12 is too much.
Yep.
And we should put our resources into other things.
Well,
or specifically, like, put our resources into stuff that these studios know how to do.
And also, and I'm just as much of a Destiny fanboy as anybody else is, or any other buddy that plays Destiny is. Every studio that they have acquired hasn't released something.
Yeah. I'm at the point, Dave, where I almost feel like the Bungie acquisition could go down as one of the worst acquisitions of all time. And that's crazy if you go back to the episode where we were talking about how great of an acquisition that could be.
Yep.
But we didn't know that they were going to miss their targets by 45%.
Yep.
And
so who's making the targets? Is Bungie making the targets? Is Sony making the targets? Like, I don't know. And you just saw, like, I mean, it's not a newsworthy thing to you, but Destiny's game director for the last 5 years, he's out. He left.
Yeah, and then there's like the reports for Bungie of just like they're really close to losing control of Bungie and PlayStation will take over. And then I'm just like, what value is Bungie with PlayStation in charge of it?
Yeah, and there's been I don't want to go down this thing. There's been a Destiny report. Destiny uses their API that, like, they allow access to everybody to back-end stuff to go in and look at stats and data and all that fun stuff. One of the things is emblem redemptions, like the in-game emblems that you wear over your player name. And with those in-game emblems come, you get emblems for pre-ordering. So somebody's backwards running the numbers for pre-orders on Final Shape, and they ain't good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just.
And they're not going to get better in the next 5 months, folks, because the game is in a dry spell.
See, and the thing that worries me with PlayStation is because of how it's been run the last 10 years, to where my solution to PlayStation's problems is, like I said earlier, go back to the PS3 era.
Where's Concrete Genie?
Yeah, like, where are those games? And not just like, hey, release Concrete Genie.
Severed? Where's Guacamelee? Where you know,
but also like, hey, release Concrete Genie, a game like Concrete Genie, but actually promote it and don't set it out to die. Until Dawn could have been one of the biggest games of all time, but they set it out to die, and then it became a cult classic. Like,
and their studio's closing, even though it's not owned by Sony.
Yeah, or not closing, but they did lose
Supermassive got hit hard, yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where I would almost want them to go back to that PS3 era where not every game was this gigantic fucking game, but it was successful. But then I look at them and I'm like, okay, cool, you closed Japan studio. We don't know what the fuck Bend looks like anymore.
Where's Gravity Rush? Where's
that was Japan Studios.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like these things that and I think the mindset of and we knew it from years ago from his Forbes articles and stuff like that, I believe, or GQ. I'm sorry, whatever Jim Ryan's fight.
Yeah, GQ, I think it was GQ.
He wants games to sell minimum 10 million copies. Yeah. You can look on Twitter right now. You got companies screaming from the rooftop when they sell 1 million.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, when you look at like Media Molecule, like they lost a quarter of their company not too long ago, and those smaller companies that Sony used to own used to kind of help with those down periods between major releases.
Yeah.
And also they were low enough budget that they were probably profitable.
At this point, just remake the infamous 1 and 2. Just do something. Like, I mean, I'm not sitting there saying I want to play a whole bunch of stuff that's, but if it means that these are Band-Aids until I get to play the new Ghost of Tsushima or until I get to play Last of Us 3, like, I'm okay with it. Like, I just, I don't know. Like, I don't know the answer. Like, I feel like, like we're missing out on the, the Guacamelee type games, the Sever type games, the,
Tearaway.
Yeah, like, even like a Miles Morales style thing that, but there's still a lot of people that you could look and go back and look at Miles Morales and read reviews and read people's perspectives of like, oh, I can't believe I paid $50 for this game. I beat it in 9 hours. Like, like there's that sentiment. It sold well. It sold fantastic.
Yeah.
But
it continues to sell.
Yeah. But I just don't know anymore. Like, because, you look at a game like Immortals that I still haven't played yet. And, I hear it's like a 10 or 12 hour campaign and people are like, that's not enough.
and that's the thing is like, the whole industry needs to kind of reset and reevaluate stuff. And unfortunately the industry right now is just like, okay, what if we continue on the current path we go? We'll just have less human beings working on this. We'll have AI fill the gaps. And then also we'll just make sure we do more live service games, knowing that live service games...
We're in a world where Assassin's Creed's going to get a battle pass.
Yeah. And that's the scary thing is the thing we always talk about. When we were talking about PlayStation trying to do 12 games, it's just like, hey,
do
the
3.
average... Yeah. No, but like the average human being... Dave, you like live service games, but I'd never have seen you balance 3 at one time.
I can barely balance 2.
Yeah.
I'm having, and I'm barely playing Destiny, and I play Destiny like once a week for like 2 hours, and then I'm trying to balance Helldivers, but I also feel like I'm behind in Helldivers now because I couldn't play it while I was on vacation, and all my buddies are like level 20 and 25, and I'm level 9.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where like, so I feel like Xbox has the right idea, but they're the way they make money is a bad
behind
idea.
The Game Pass tent.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
they want to get, like we've been talking about, they want a game every quarter.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care what it is.
Which is why we got Pentiment, we got Hi-Fi Rush, we got Grounded.
Yep.
The only problem is you have to buy into a subscription with that.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore their budgets are still on the old model of like, hey, this would be a $60 release, this would be a $50 release. So then Microsoft's in this weird fucking world where they can't even balance if a game is successful.
Yeah,
what does that mean?
Our Game Pass subscribers are flat, which is still fine. It's not bad. They're not declining. They're flat. But there also means that since our Game Pass subscribers are flat, our sales are flat. So, and they're small because of Game Pass. We don't know real numbers, but I would assume that they're small.
Yeah.
So then it's like, okay, the board at Xbox is like, what do we do? And Spencer's like, you got to let me put it on other platforms to get any sales. And then people are complaining about Sea of Thieves. If 100,000 people buy Sea of Thieves on PlayStation, that's 100,000 people they didn't have.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. It's like PlayStation right now is almost directionless because they need to pivot and get their studios to like make smaller things. But they're also, want to figure out how to do games as a service. And Xbox, on the other hand, is like, okay, we are at least trying something different.
Yeah. Here's Hellblade 2. Here's Indiana Jones. Yeah. Here's, there's something else I'm forgetting that are coming out this year.
Avowed,
MLB, Avowed, MLB The Show. Like here's something every 60 days.
Yeah.
Don't cancel. Don't cancel. Don't cancel.
The problem with that is then when they look at the games of just like, was this game successful? They don't fucking have an answer for it.
Did we make enough money in subs by putting MLB The Show on Game Pass again? Oh.
Yeah.
We didn't lose subs.
Or did we gain subs because some fucking random Twitch streamer streamed a game that got popular?
How many people bought the show on Xbox? What do you mean? Who buys it on Xbox? They just sub the Game Pass. Yeah. Like that's but it's still a multi-billion-dollar avenue for them. So like,
but it's one of those things that where they're struggling making content because they don't know how to judge what that content should be.
Yep.
And then PlayStation
is arguably successful, but not successful enough.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and they keep
8 million ain't cutting it.
Yeah, and they hit this point where they're like, okay, we're just gonna keep throwing money at it because people want something bigger and bigger and bigger, and their profits are shrinking. And now you like, I believe Insomniac. If they told Insomniac, can you make smaller games? Insomniac will be like, bet. because we made Miles, we made Ratchet.
Can you release a game every 18 months instead of every 36 months?
Yeah, and it'll be like, give us the IPs, give us a roadmap, or give us a budget. We'll do it.
I promise you, this affects Wolverine.
Oh yeah, Wolverine might get scaled down. It apparently canceled a co-op Spider-Man game that they were working on.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sony also bought Insomniac. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sony also bought Insomniac because they were worried about the stuff that Insomniac was doing for VR. Where's that?
Yeah, exactly. And but the other thing
that would guess what? That would move your VR 2 units.
A proper Spider-Man VR instead of the weird Tom Holland one we got. Something.
A VR game with the word Insomniac on it.
Yeah, anything.
Like
Ratchet and Clank.
Here's what it comes down to. Like, this has been a conversation. Like, do you want more stuff from Naughty Dog and Insomniac, or do you want more stuff from Sony, like, or from PlayStation? Like, what's the ultimate answer? Like, I'm to the point right now, Michael, where no matter what Naughty Dog releases, new IP, different idea, I'm buying it. Like, whatever Insomniac releases, I'm buying it because Insomniac has bought my loyalty with Spider-Man 1, Miles Morales, and Spider-Man 2. Naughty Dog has bought my loyalty with all the Uncharted series and the Last of Us series. So I don't care what direction they go. Hey, we're making a sci-fi space shooter that you shoot upside down. Bet.
What the thing I was getting to with, like, like Insomniac, if they go to Insomniac, can you do smaller games at a higher clip rate? The Insomniac's gonna be like, yes, we can do that 100%. I don't know if you can go to Naughty Dog with that same proposition. Like, Naughty Dog used to be a 2-studio team. There was an Uncharted team and then the Last of Us team.
Yep.
And I don't know if they can go back to that, because if they go like, hey, can you work on an Uncharted game and a Last of Us game at the same time, Naughty Dog will probably be like, that's impossible because we need this budget for each game.
I'll ask you a similar question I asked a handful of my friends this week, because there's been a couple of reports about Druckmann came out and said he doesn't know how many big video games he has left in him. Okay?
Yeah.
So I want to ask you a question, because you like all the Uncharted's, correct?
Yes.
And you enjoyed Last of Us, both of them, correct?
Yeah, all-time games.
Do you want another game from Naughty Dog, or do you want another game from Druckmann?
So I feel like that's a tricky question in terms of, I would love another Last of Us from Druckmann, because I feel like I can't separate Druckmann from The Last of Us.
Okay, that's fair.
Uncharted used to be Amy Hennig's and Bruce Staley's thing, and then it became Druckmann's thing. So I feel like anyone can touch Uncharted, and I can trust the system.
If Druckmann left tomorrow to go work for Amazon and to make a game, and in 2 years, are you buying a Druckmann game?
Yes, I would be curious enough about it that I would do that. But I when it comes to Naughty Dog specifically, I would only be really interested in a Druckmann
non-Last of Us Naughty Dog.
Yeah.
Okay, that's valid.
Especially, like, I didn't know Druckmann's like 45, so him saying, like, I got one more big game in me, based on how long it takes Naughty Dog to develop a game, he'll be in his mid-50s by the time we get that game, which is retirement age. Which I didn't mean that to be a joke, but legitimately, like, that's how this works with Naughty Dog now. To where, like, I don't know what PlayStation does, because some studios are too big to fail, sort of thing. I feel like that's why, sorry to cut you off, but
no, you're fine.
I feel like the only thing that kept Media Molecule from being closed this week was the fact that they had studio recognition in their title. Like, you can close London Studios, you shouldn't, because London Studios has been around since the PS1 era.
Right.
And they're a great studio. But I feel like
I couldn't tell you what they were called if you told me a game.
No, exactly, and that's what I was going to say. To most people, they don't know what London Studios has done. Fire Sprite is a relatively newer studio in the PlayStation family, so them getting cut and being put as an auxiliary studio now doesn't make big waves. But I feel like Naughty Dog is, like, too big to fail. Media Molecule has too much of, like, the hearts and mind.
You can't close Bend, you can't close Sucker Punch, you can't close Santa Monica, you can't, et cetera, et cetera.
But that's going to put Sony in a spot where they have to look at these big studios and they have to demand some sort of change. And it sucks because, like, we're talking about those changes are going to probably be more people.
Take whatever Santa Monica's working on post God of War. I can't remember what it is. There's supposed to be like a sci-fi
Corey Barlog's sci-fi game.
So, okay, Barlog, you have this ambition of making a 40-hour game. Make a 15 or 20-hour game. Cut your story down. If it sells well, you can tell the rest of your story.
No, and that is going to be one of those things that they have to probably look at for projects.
Yeah.
Of just like, hey, that I was about to spoil it because I don't know if we talked about like when Insomniac's working after Spider-Man and Wolverine, but
Yeah.
like I imagine that game that's supposed to come out in 2030, the Marvel game from Insomniac, I imagine if that's still happening after this, the size and scope of that game has probably been changed drastically, and you just hope that Insomniac
out.
can
Get
work
it out
with
in
that.
18 or 24 months, and if it does well, keep going. You'll
Yeah.
know in the first month if it's doing well. Keep working on the second thing, but get it out.
It's one of those things where
Like, would Ragnarok have been better 10 hours shorter? And then we get a third God of War?
for me it would have because I
Right.
didn't finish Ragnarok.
I'm just saying.
But
like,
but it's one of those things where when you look at like Call of Duty, people for not recently, but people used to buy Call of Duty for the single player campaign,
mhm.
and they
And then
released
dabble
every
with the
year.
multiplayer.
Yeah, and then it eventually switched to where it was only multiplayer and stuff like that. But Activision was able to get away with that for so long that like I'm not saying release games yearly,
But look at
cut
WB
down.
Avalanche. They figured out what they needed to do to get Hogwarts Legacy out. It did phenomenal, and like it's pretty much unannounced, but it's announced they're working on a second one.
Yeah, though the Warner Brothers president's like it should be live
it's-
service, but like still,
At least they have something to point to say no, we don't need to do that.
yeah,
like-
yeah.
Because now
but-
now it sucks. Like Suicide Squad's failing.
Oh
Awful
yeah,
failing.
and they're pissed about it. Apparently, Warner
Yeah,
Brothers is constantly talking about how bad the game did, and it's just
But
like,
Rocksteady's like, we told your ass we didn't want to do this.
yeah, yeah, and I like you mentioned earlier, like I don't know what the answer is. We're just kind of throwing stuff
Yeah.
out there to see like what sticks, but like clearly something needs to change. Like over 10,000 jobs have been lost in the video game industry. A lot of these companies were chasing live service games and found out live service games are really hard to make. And also you need luck and lightning in a bottle in order to be successful in that field. And then the single player games just ballooned to like these crazy budgets that aren't
Valhalla
sustainable.
level Assassin's Creed.
And our answer seems to be shorter experiences, smaller games, but that's going to require basically the average player to be accepting of that.
Yeah.
And
they
the best
pull-
way to make them accepting.
They reveal the map and they pull away. That's it? That's
Yeah.
all I get?
Yeah. And I feel like that will only change if the industry kind of does what they do in other industries of just like, that's what you get. Like, either this is you get this smaller Assassin's Creed game or you get no Assassin's Creed game. What do you want?
I mean, I hate to say it. Like, where's my Far Cry 7?
Like,
Where is
where's
it?
your Far
It's
Cry
been-
7? But
It's
also,
been long enough.
also, for the love of God, please don't be a gigantic Valhalla-like experience.
Right.
Yeah.
But Far Cry was 15 to 20 hour campaign that they would dribble in some other extras there. You could play like the arcade stuff. It was a little over the top. They had a little bit of co-op in there. People are always like, oh, it's just more Far Cry. Okay, well, it still was a top 10 selling game every year when it came out.
And they were releasing them on 2-3 year clips.
Yeah.
Like, as well. Like, they were releasing those.
And
pretty
we're at the
frequently.
third year. Like, I mean, I would hope that we see something from Ubisoft this June for something from Far Cry this holiday. Like, they're in if they're doing it, they're in that time cycle. But
Yeah.
at the same time, Ubisoft is in trouble too. I'm waiting to hear. God, please no, I don't want more people to lose their job. But where's all the Division stuff?
Yeah.
Like
There's 2 Division games that are supposed to be coming, right?
yeah, where's it at? Like it's
Yeah.
been a year. Like where's the mobile game? Where's the free to play game? Where's the
where's
third
X
Division?
Defiant? Yeah.
Yeah, like eventually you're gonna have to. You can't keep hitting these payroll without any return on investment. That's what it's coming down to.
No, and that's why we saw what happened at PlayStation. We've been last week or 2 weeks ago, we talked about how PlayStation is going to be a couple years between first party games. And
Where
this
are the
is what
Band-Aids?
happens.
Where are
Yeah.
the Band-Aids? And they're not there.
Yeah, because they killed all those studios that would create those Band-Aids.
Yeah.
Like, this is another thing with
They're
PlayStation.
making foam stars.
It's one of those things where, like, when I think we last talked, Square Enix was like, hey, we're going to actually start canceling games way earlier
Yeah.
in production if we don't see they're going to be successful. And that sounds like something that, like, a lot of studios need to do, because what they end up doing is they just start producing every idea they have, and then they hire to that idea,
But do
and then
we
they
really-
cut those jobs when they realize it's not going to work.
Do we really need a Horizon MMO?
No, and it's not going to be successful.
Right.
But the amount of money going into
I'd rather
it.
have them get the third game out sooner than an MMO.
Yeah.
Like, you already saw the problems with Last of Us Factions. Now, the only thing that's going for Guerrilla is they've actually made a multiplayer game before.
But not in that realm that they're trying to jump into.
So, I don't know. Like, Sony needs to have a state of play in the next 60 days. 90 days max.
Dude,
where
the
they
only
start
problem is they
showing stuff and dating. No, I mean, where's free baller,
fair games.
Concord and Fair Games. Like, those have to come out this year. They have.
But I almost feel like you need to do a state of play.
But they're going to cannibalize each other too.
Yeah. You need a state of play where you have a bigger Naughty Dog or Insomniac game announced during that thing just to get people to watch.
Yeah, at this point in time, man, Uncharted 1, 4K, 120 frames, better grenade throwing. I don't know.
Or Sucker Punch release something, please. Like Ghost of Tsushima 2. It doesn't make sense.
Hell,
no,
at this point, where's the Days Gone remake with better bite controls? I don't know.
You know what, Dave? This is the first time I'm disagreeing with you. I don't think that'll help anybody.
I know. I'm just saying, like,
the Little Big Planet servers were killed again.
Days Gone came out when we worked for when we podcasted for a different entity, and we're over 4 years old, and we don't even know what Ben's working on.
Yeah. It's crazy. You know,
games at least take a year from announcement to release, minimum, right?
Yeah.
If Ben announces something this summer, it's coming out summer 2025.
Well, it sounds like they were trying to work on Days Gone 2. That got canceled. Then it got moved to an Uncharted?
No, the Factions,
and then that got canceled. And now they're working on their own new IP. So they're like 5 years away.
But the PS fanboys are going to shit on Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment. At least they released something.
Well, it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be funny when we see top 10 sales on a PlayStation blog for that month, and you're not going to see Pentiment in the top 10, but you're going to see Hi-Fi Rush in the top 10.
And Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, Sea of Thieves. You're going to see like that. Pentiment, you have to be into that sort of game to play. But yeah, but Hi-Fi Rush just pops. So it's yeah. But that's all I got for news, Dave. Things were probably delayed. Because of all the shit going on this week.
What's delayed? We don't know. No.
Everything.
Playing and watching for me. I'll try to kind of speed run this a little bit. It'll be a little bit of a recap of my San Diego trip. So I took my ROG Ally with me from a gaming standpoint. I hooked up my Turtle Beach Stealth headphones Bluetooth. I hooked up my Xbox controller Bluetooth to it. Played it on the plane. Played Arkham Asylum on the plane. It was fine. Great. It did what it did. I just got easily distracted on the plane with other stuff, like just watching something on a tablet or whatever. It didn't work super great at the Airbnb, just plugging it in, and it was just kind of hard to I don't know if it was the internet connection. I don't know if I was just tired. So I didn't really get too much game time with that at all. But I keep forgetting that thing is just like a handheld PC. Like going through the airport, the security's like, "What the hell is that?" When I'm taking it out, because I had a power bank too, and they're like, and I'm like, so the first time going through security, oh, you can leave everything in the bag, and like sure enough, my bag gets flagged, and the guy's like, "What's this?" And I'm like, "It's a power bank." "What's this?" It's a portable PC." "What do you mean?" "It's a Windows PC with a controller on it."
Just say it's like Switch on steroids.
Yeah, so it's like, and he's like, I'm like, I just need something to play on the plane. He's like, okay, So then we get to San Diego. We do the beach with a bunch of the sea lions, and Angela's in heaven because she's within 10 feet of sea lions and on a beach in February. So we're loving it. The weather was really, really good. It rained on Tuesday, but did the aquarium, did the Natural History Museum, went on a tour of Petco Park where the San Diego Padres play. There wasn't any baseball going on, but it was still kind of cool to go on the tour of that. The museums were interesting.
That's cool that they have a tour. Like I didn't think a park would have a tour.
Yeah, Ansel found this like Ghost City San Diego pass or something like that, where we got to do like 6 or 8 things within a 48-hour period, and it only cost like one flat rate, so it was really good. I was blown away. We were blown away by the San Diego Zoo. Detroit Zoo is a good zoo. San Diego Zoo is ridiculously amazing. Mm-hmm. Like this thing is the size of like a theme park, if not bigger.
Yeah.
It lots of built into the topography of the city, the landscape. If you're friends with me on Facebook, she tagged me and stuff. She took like hundreds of pictures, like red pandas, and
probably still sorting through them all.
Yeah, so I was just blown away at how big the zoo was and how just well paths were and everything, like worth every single penny that you'd have to spend to go to that zoo. Phenomenal. And then we did Knott's Berry Farms, which is a little south of LA, which is a Cedar Point, Six Flags like thing there. Much smaller scale. My expectations were low when I went there because we go to Cedar Point on a regular basis. Cedar Point is the creme de la creme of the theme parks. So everything else is a little less. Like I think Cedar Point has like 24 roller coasters and Knott's Berry Farm had like 9. So but it was fun. It was cool. It was kind of just nice to kind of just go around and do some basic rides and just hang out with Ange a lot. Just to spend quality time. Just the two of us was just phenomenal. So came home on Friday, kind of just I usually didn't even have this problem E3 days back in the day, but man, at times I'm getting old, Michael. That time zone change just jacked with me so much. So I was going to bed at like 9:30 at night in California. And it's just like, and up at like 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, awake. It's like, but I mean, for the most part, I had a couple days to recover and went back to work. Dabbling a little bit with Helldivers 2. Like I said, Suicide Squad, I haven't even gone back to it yet. I forgot, like MLB The Show is coming soon. I don't even know the date of it, but it's sometime in March, I believe. Like this month's over. February's over, which is kind of hard to believe. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, that's kind of been the week. Yeah, it was just really cool to get away and just to be, even California wasn't even that warm, but the sun was out and it wasn't gray. Like Angela said all the time, she's like, it's just so green. Like,
yeah.
So awesome food. She found a great Korean barbecue out there too. That was great.
I like that's your go-to thing now. Anytime you go somewhere, it's like Korean barbecue.
Yep. Just those random, like you and I have experienced this in LA, those random Mexican restaurants that are like gully kitchens.
Mm-hmm.
You get a burrito the size of your forearm for like $8. Something like that. Just Angela did her first Lyft or Uber. We walked down to this Mexican restaurant and we had so much to eat. She's like, I can't walk back home.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. Like I opened up my Lyft app. Oh, hi. You haven't been here for 4 years. Like
usually when I do that, they throw a gift card or a promo price on it. Luckily.
I don't think I got anything on that, but it only cost like a 10-minute Lyft ride was like $7. So, but yeah, I mean that's pretty much been it for playing and watching. I've watched a little bit of the atrocity or followed the atrocity of the NBA and the ref, and I think slam dunk contest, all-star stuff. I think was since we recorded. I don't remember.
It was,
yeah. So that was decent. All-star game was awful.
All-star game was awful. Slam dunk contest was awful. 3-point.
Everything else. Yeah,
the 3-point stuff is always good.
The 3-point stuff was good. The skills competition was good. Locally, again, like from a hockey perspective, the Red Wings are playing really, really well right now. So that's kind of taking over the city a little bit post Lions stuff. So, and baseball starting. So, and on paper, my Tigers are better than your White Sox. So I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean the White Sox. You never know. This could be a surprise year for them. No, it's not. Enjoy the commentary.
Yeah, that's it for me. My commentary is from your guy now. So
yep, yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. He's really good. He's really good. It was the only bright spot of the fucking White Sox. Honestly, nothing different. Just been playing the usual stuff. Ace Attorney. I got back into Advance Wars 1 and 2. It's been a lot of Switch stuff. There's been a lot of stuff going on right now. So I haven't really had too much time to play anything outside of just when I have time to mess with the Switch. I've gotten into collecting stuff again, Dave. I feel like every other month I'm like, I'm done collecting, but
I bought another Funko Pop.
Dave, I have like 12 amiibos now.
I bought a Destiny Funko Pop again.
Oh no, that's worse than me buying 12 amiibos within a week.
And I bought the Final Shape Collector's Edition because it's the Destiny 1 tower.
You know what, Dave? Treat yourself.
Yeah.
I've been picking up.
I bought some cool hats in San Diego. Does that count?
I'm not really a hat guy anymore, but I know you are. But yeah, no, I ended up buying.
I'm bald.
Yeah, I know you need the hat. Yeah. You like to surprise people when you take your hat off. Like, hey, did you expect?
No,
this?
I look younger with a hat on. Leave me alone.
I don't know. Is there gray in that beard now, Dave?
Yes,
I got the
there
black
is.
and white
Shut your
camera.
mouth. I got the mic in the way.
My camera's black and white, so I can't tell.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've just been buying stuff. I think I said last time I fell into the whatnot trap again of the live auction app, to where I've just been buying random PS3 stuff as PlayStation 5 struggles. I've been going back to the PS3 stuff. But yeah, I ended up down, like, they reprinted a bunch of Amiibo, so I've just kind of been buying.
Yeah, I saw that on
Amiibo.
Twitter. Yeah.
Now I have 5 Soras. I'm not a scumbag reseller. I'm literally holding 3 for some people.
So what are you doing with the other 2?
1 to open, 1 to keep. 1 to open and then 1 to keep in a box. I bought Solid Snake. I bought Zero Suit Samus. I bought Terry. I bought Banjo-Kazooie.
Aren't you saving for some like couples expenses soon too?
Yeah, but these are investments. To be fair, I got my bonus like 2 weeks ago, so I was just like, I'm putting $200 aside to buy stupid shit.
Okay.
And then the rest of it was going towards life savings.
That wouldn't even pay for a pair of sneakers I try to get now.
Luckily, like, all my stupid shit has been like, each thing's been under $20, so I've been able to stretch like the
I can buy 8 stupid things.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And I limited. I could have went fucking crazy with the amount of stupid, like my stupid budget, but I kept it to $200. So I stretched the fuck out of that, especially when they started to pop up for Amiibos being in stock. I was like, okay, let me dive into this, because the Amiibos, as far as everyone knows, like, they're done making new ones. This is going to be the last reprint. So I was just like,
because they're going to start making them for Switch too.
If they get that far with the Amiibos, I'm feeling they won't. But
I can't walk away from that much money, man.
I don't know if they want the hassle that the Amiibos seem to be.
Yeah. The coins getting dubbed or whatever, like copying.
Yeah. But how I see it is like they're probably
They'll just turn it into NFTs.
Yeah, what I imagine they're gonna do with the Amiibos is maybe just not release them that frequent.
Yeah.
And I don't see them reprinting ones too often. So this has been a rare reprint, because if they wanted, they could have been reprinting these for years and making a killing. But I think that's just too much work for them. So I've just been like, let me just jump into Amiibos as everything's going away. I'm not going to try and collect them all. I just want the ones from franchises I like.
If they win their lawsuit against an emulator, maybe they'll make more Amiibos.
Maybe. I was almost going to put that new story in.
They said the Tears of the Kingdom was like illegally downloaded like 1 million times before it came out.
Yeah. Did you hear the story from the Bowser guy, the guy who was pirating their stuff?
No,
and the guy's name is Bowser. Like, they basically are garnishing his wages for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But yeah, that's all I've been doing is just after work, just going into a zone where I just browse for video games. My PS3 collection's looking quite fine, but nice. That's all I'm doing.
Josh would be proud.
Yeah. He's hoarding as well. So
yeah.
I got to see what he's collecting lately. It's just gonna be Legos.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Kind of fell down that rabbit hole with Owen. Now discovered Lego store, and like I guess we bought him some Legos before we went on a trip.
Did you see the? Do you like X-Men? Like the cartoon,
the '97 trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see the '97 Lego?
No, I haven't yet. Don't show that to my wife. She'll buy that.
Did they have the jet as a Lego set?
I'm trying to figure out when Owen's going to be at the age of where I can build something cool with him that he cannot play with.
Oh, like, yeah. He's probably, how old is he?
He's 8. So there's this balance of
he's
like something's really
close.
I know
he's
really
close. Yeah.
You know, so he built the cars. Like he built some cars, like I can't, European cars or something like that. Like, and he did really well with those. But he likes to play with them, and when he plays with them, like the headlights come off and stuff like that. But the stuff that I saw in the Lego store, like there was a couple things that I was even showing to Ange. I'm like, hey, we could build that together and put it on our shelves or something like that. She's like, maybe, So, but I would be content with like a 5,000 piece Lego thing, just as like set it on the dining room table and just build it over like a week or two.
My brother-in-law works at the Lego store, so I have random Lego sets that I haven't put together.
I didn't realize that they had those like Lego boxes, essentially like whatever you can fit in the box is $10.
Yeah,
like,
they have the
Lego
big
wall. Yeah, because Owen does a ton of that, just free building.
I don't, because like when I was a kid, that was the only Lego you could buy.
Yeah.
And now, like, I remember when I worked at Target, I'm like, don't they just have Lego?
Yeah.
Like,
we just finding the flats at first, like just the gray flat, like the green flats for him to like you and I were probably the same. Like we built a house. Like I'm putting 6 windows on the left side of my house, and I'm putting a door over here.
Because all you could buy was a bucket of Lego. And now, like, it's like, no, you can.
Now you
buy
can't
sets.
find the bucket of Legos.
Yeah. You have to go to Lego store and then go
So
to
now
the
I'm
wall.
tempted to like take him like once a month, once every other month, and let him fill up a $10 box, and then in like 3 or 4 months he'll have a ton, for
And then-
$50.
And then there's like websites where people put schematics up of random stuff, like unofficial Lego sets, to where you can use those buckets to be like, hey, there's this cool thing that you can build.
Yeah.
Just got to go to Lego store and buy the parts.
Yep. So.
But yeah, I don't know how we got on that tangent, but I'm done.
All right, so that's our show for this week. As always, send us your questions. There's a specific channel, a channel in our Discord server where you can post questions. You can post them on the Facebook group. Consider joining the Discord. It's been actually very active with Helldivers, the collections, general conversations that are going on. So as games are coming up and holding on to, I don't know if you've played this as much as I have, Michael. When I was on vacation, I think at least 2 or 3 times there was 4 or 5 people in the Helldivers party.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's someone right now in one of the parties waiting for people to join them right now. So like, there's always someone playing a game, specifically Helldivers lately, and then there's people in the Skull and Bones channel.
Yep. Which I got to get back to that. So
yeah, and the Fortnite channel, people hop into there.
Yeah. So,
but don't worry, if there's no channel, we do have generic party channels you could just get into.
Or request, like tag me and I'll make a channel if it's something and I can share invites and that's just been nice to see that activity and that movement and that growth in the Discord. So if you're on Facebook and you're not on the Discord train yet, like start looking into it. We can help you out. It's better. I promise. The grass is truly greener over there. It's a little easier to navigate. And you don't get I can promise you there ain't no ads in Discord yet.
Not yet.
So, but yeah, check that out. Follow us on social media at Digital Days Pod. You can follow Michael at the First MJC. You can follow myself at Good Dave Hunt, where I think I did tweet the picture of my low ceilings in my Airbnb.
Yes.
So that was funny in general. But Facebook group is still there. Discord server is all linked in the show notes, and Patreon is there as well. And with that, I hope everyone has a fantastic week, and we will be back next week. So get out there and have some fun, and keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya.